Military Special Forces guys doing meth while skiing. Did I get your attention? Today we're talking about Aimo Koivunen, the Finnish Special Forces.
Welcome to Pegasus versus the Worlds, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, and some travel.
City boy! City boy!
All right, you guys, we're back with the fat electrician. I still feel weird saying that. I'm like, oh, snap. I'm not dissing. That's his name. But anyways, I've been having fun on his channel, going down the rabbit hole, checking some things out. So we're going to get into this. Now, one of the things, before I get this video started, one of the things I've been saying in a few of my last reactions with the fat electrician was, where does he come up with this stuff? Where does he get the info? And one of the homies DM'd me on Instagram, sent me this link to this podcast that just dropped. I think it's called the Unsubscribed channel or something like that. And it's like all these big YouTubers from this, I guess you'd say, genre of YouTube, right? Which some people call it GunTube, but you know, anyways, they're sitting down and I saw a clip where he said a lot of these figures that he covers have written books, have had books written about them. I think he was also kind of talking about like seeing interviews, you know, so maybe he's finding obscure interviews that lead him to books or whatever. But I just thought that was really cool because he's actually taken the time to do the research. On one of my reactions, it was the Oblivion. Was it the Iran Navy Army into oblivion? I just remember the word oblivion, like blowing them to oblivion. That's what's standing out in my mind. I did a reaction to that. It was my first reaction to anything on his channel. And I remember seeing a comment where someone said, "You're bringing no value to this video. You're just using his videos for views and blah, blah, blah." And, you know, I read that. I was like, oh, shit. Like, you know, because I actually really respect this content. So I was like, oh, maybe I should just not react to it if I'm not bringing value. But then what I realized is that what I'm doing is I'm actually learning in real time. And then people are just interested in seeing the perception on how I interpret the story, that these different things, right? So I didn't take it personally. Sometimes I'll see something and I'll try to look at it objectively and be like, yo, does he have something there? And I could understand, like, you guys, I'm not a military dude. My dad was in the Air Force for 21 years, but that wasn't my path. I'm not like a gun aficionado. You know, I have my concealed carry. You know, I believe in 2A and stuff like that, but I'm just, you know, so I actually do learn a lot. And then as you guys can tell, I definitely missed a history course being so focused on my rap career in high school. So it's just cool to listen to this stuff and find it out. But go crazy in the comments, man. If I'm not bringing value to these things, I will, you know, I'd love to hear what you think I should be saying or doing in these reaction videos. This is not a battle him video or, you know, debate him video. I'm actually sitting here learning. So I just wanted to put that on blast at the beginning of this video. Let's get it started. This is on the Fat Electrician's channel. I need you guys to go subscribe to him. Check his videos out independently of my reactions. These aren't a substitute for his original content, so please go support. I'm going to play this all the way through. He'll probably have an ad for merch. Support his website, get the merch, do all that good stuff. Let's support really dope original content creators. All right, let's get this one started. If you want to support me, you can like, share, comment, subscribe. In the description, I'll have my other channels. If I'm kind of stiff today, I just went to the CPI, the Cellular Performance Institute, to get stem cells in both of my shoulders for tears. And I just got back home, so I'm a little stiff. But yeah, if I'm making funky faces, that's why, not because I'm out of dislike or distaste. So just so you guys have a reference point. And let's get this going. I picked this one because the title is insane. Winter Soldier ODs on meth. Becomes unkillable. Like what? I feel like I've heard this story on Joe Rogan or something, but we'll see. All right, here we go, you guys.
Military Special Forces guys doing meth while skiing. Did I get your attention?
Yes.
Today we're talking about Aimo Koivunen, the Finnish Special Forces soldier that took his entire unit's supply of crank and then proceeded to troll the Soviets and himself for 2 weeks about it. Before this video gets too far off the rails, we do have a sponsor, and that sponsor is We the People Holsters.
Hold on, we're going to play the sponsor because you should support brother, man. Y'all saw how he did that? He talks about a winter soldier that, you know, gets on crank, and then he says, before this goes off the rails. Yo, that's a double entendre. If you know what a rail is, you know what a rail is. He said, before this goes off the rails, We're talking about crank. Now, maybe there's other ways to do, you know, because I ain't never been a drug head either, but I'm sure you can get a little, if you know what I'm saying. So that's a great bar. Shout out to the fat electrician for keeping us on our toes.
That took his entire unit's supply of crank and then proceeded to troll the Soviets and himself for 2 weeks about it. Before this video gets too far off the rails, we do have a sponsor, and that sponsor is We the People Holsters. They probably have the best quality to price ratio for any holster company on the market. Here's mine. It came with the clip and in the fancy gridline Kydex, and it cost $57, which is like half of what any other company was going to charge you. If you wanted to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get to this story.
Nice.
March 18th, 1944, Aimo and his friends, a small group of Special Forces Finnish soldiers, have just finished conducting a 3-day-long ski patrol and are returning back to base when they are ambushed by an entire platoon of Soviet soldiers. They have nowhere near enough men to fight back. They have to retreat and get away. In order to do so, they go off the beaten path and attempt to blaze their own trail through unpacked snow. Aimo, as fate would have it, would be the point man, having to do the majority of the work as far as beating down the unpacked snow goes. Now, they've been out skiing for 3 days straight. Everybody's exhausted, but the level of work that Aimo is having to dish out is almost unbearable, and he's unable to set a pace that is going to allow them to escape. And the Soviets are catching up. So Aimo decides to take the high road, reaches into his pocket and pulls out a bottle, and inside of that bottle is all of his and his buddy's supply of Pervitin. Aimo had been given all of it because everybody knew that Aimo didn't care for taking Pervitin, and this meant that Aimo would keep it safe and nobody else would dip into it when they weren't supposed to. And if you don't know, Pervitin is the German miracle drug that came out in 1938, also known as meth. And just to be clear, this isn't like Jesse Pinkman cooking it in the back of a van, putting chili powder in it. This is high-quality pharmaceutical grade nose torque, okay? This is inhalable horsepower, and this man's about to take some.
Yo, hold on, man. Bro, this dude is off the script. He's writing scripts. This fool said nose torque. I've heard some... You guys got to remember, I'm a rapper. I've toured all over this country, Europe, frickin'. I've been all over. You know, I'm underground, but I've been out with bigger artists than myself. Like, I'm always like the support for the tour, the headliner, right? And I've heard every name in the book for what he's talking. I've never heard nose torque. Yo, son, that's ill. This dude is hard, man. Let's go.
Goddamn right.
So Aimo pops off the lid and he wants to dump a single pill into his hand, which is the recommended dose. The problem is the Pervitin has been sitting in his pocket, half of it warm against his body, the other half getting cold against the outside of his jacket, and it is now congealed into one gigantic meth nugget, and the whole nugget falls into his mitten. He's unable to break off a singular piece because, well, he has mittens on and he doesn't have the dexterity, so he says, fuck it, and eats the entire nugget of meth, which was roughly 30 pills at one point. Okay, fast forward like 45 seconds. Aimo feels incredible. He is a new man. He has gone from dragging ass to tripping balls, and he has had a life-altering revelation that he's been put on this planet to do two things and two things only, and that is to outrun the Soviets and steal catalytic converters, and those aren't even going to be invented for like another 35 years. So guess what we're doing? We're outrunning these Soviets. This man begins blazing a path through unpacked snow quicker than anybody ever has, ever. And the Soviets are just watching these guys take off like a rocket, like...
They've gone to plaid.
Over the course of the next hour, they managed to outrun the Soviets so bad that they just gave up. So they finally stopped, they regrouped, they wanted to see if anybody had been shot, they wanted to make sure everybody was doing okay before they carried on with their mission and journeyed back home. At that point, Aimo did not sit still. He is pacing, he's walking around, he's talking to himself, and that's when his buddies realized, oh boy, Aimo is higher than draft pussy on a fucking extension ladder. We gotta do something. So they decide it's probably a good idea.
Yo, that's funny. So I've heard the higher than giraffe. I won't double up on it because YouTube is funky. But Baby Bash, when I was touring with Baby Bash and like Slim Thug, but Baby Bash would say that. He said higher than giraffe. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But the way he just adds to it, like he just adds on. This is hilarious. What's crazy is laughing actually hurts this shoulder right now. Yo, so this is painful. This is painful to watch in a good way.
idea to take away all of his ammunition and his knife so he doesn't hurt himself or somebody else. So they take the ammo away from him, they turn around, they go to put it in somebody else's backpack so they can carry it, turn back around, Aimo is fucking gone. Fast forward an unspecified amount of time later, and Aimo wakes up, looks around, has no idea where he is. You see, Aimo had blacked out. And when I say blacked out, I don't mean he laid down and fell asleep. I mean he proceeded to ski 62 miles in a random direction and then laid down and fell asleep. And he is now just waking up, realizing that he has no recollection of which direction he went or came from, and he has no idea where he is. At this point, a Soviet soldier hops out from behind a tree and begins shooting at Aimo. Aimo panics, gets to his feet, grabs his gun, lifts it, fires at the Soviet soldier, click, fuck. His friends had taken all of his ammunition. So he grabs his empty gun and throws it at the Soviet soldier. It hits him and he explodes into a pile of snow. Aimo, what the fuck? Looks up. Oh, it was just a tree branch covered in snow the whole time. He is now hallucinating. So not really knowing what else to do, he straps his skis.
At first I was like, oh, where's this going? Like, what?
Back on and proceeds to ski around looking for his friends or anything, really. And after an hour or two, thank God, he sees his friend's camp off in the distance and they have a fire going. It's all gonna be okay. We're good. He's gonna be saved. So Aimo takes off skiing towards the camp. He's skiing. Aimo skis right into the middle of the camp. Cool guy power slide. Psh. Friends, did you miss me? He looks at his buddies. His buddies look at him. He looks at his buddies. Those aren't his buddies. Those are the Soviets. Shit. Time to go. Aimo takes off again. The Soviets attempt to chase him for a little bit, but I mean, the man is basically tweakers on ice right now. You've got no chance at actually catching him. So Aimo then proceeds to ski until he's tired, and then he lays down and goes to sleep just on the ground outside. He wakes up, it's dark out, he can't see anything, and he realizes, hey, I'm hungry. So he gets a fire going, and then he walks around grabbing some pine buds and leaves and whatever else he can find, sticking it in his canteen cup, grabs some snow, puts that in there, cooks it over the fire, and kind of mashes it all together in this like pine bud stew gruel type thing. He eats it, he thinks it's fucking delicious, one of the best meals he's ever had because, well, meth. Then he goes back to bed. Wakes back up, still full of energy, decides that he's gonna go look for his buddies more. He skis around, he skis and he skis all day long, and then he finds a cabin. He walks up to the cabin, grabs a doorknob. It's real. It's not a hallucination. So, next thing, he strips all the copper out of it. No, I'm just kidding. He opens the door because it's unlocked, because this is a tradition in this part of the world where there's, you know, people could freeze to death. You just leave the cabin unlocked in case somebody is in Aimo's situation. You don't want them to freeze to death. So, Aimo goes inside, he gets a fire going. Now, because of the meth, Aimo elects to light the fire in the middle of the cabin on the floor rather than in the fireplace because, you know, obviously. He then proceeds to go to bed, and all throughout
meth head activities,
the night, the fire keeps getting hotter and hotter, so he keeps like shimmying away from it and shimmying away from it over and over again. And then finally his back hits a wall and he wakes up and realizes that the entire cabin is on fire. So he's like, shit. So he gets up, goes outside the cabin, puts his back against the wall of the outside of the cabin, and then goes back to sleep. Meth. So Aimo wakes up again, it's dark out, he hears growling off in the distance as there's a pair of yellow eyes staring at him. He looks behind him, the cabin completely burnt to a crisp as these eyes keep getting closer and closer, and there's growling, and out of the shadows leaps Hugh Jackman. Wait, what the fuck? So, sorry, a Wolverine, not the Wolverine. A Wolverine, still, I mean, it's better, but not a lot better, okay? This thing is 65 pounds of teeth, claws, fur, and bad attitude. And this thing will absolutely kill Aimo if Aimo lets it. Aimo is now in a fight for his life, so he pulls out his knife and begins fighting a fucking Wolverine while tripping out on meth.
You guys, this story is actually going off the rails, no pun intended. Now, I want to talk about a full circle moment that just happened for me and this channel and getting introduced to the Fat Electrician and watching his content. So this guy Aimo is about to battle a Wolverine. Well, I wouldn't really know how crazy a Wolverine was if I didn't do a reaction to the honey badger, which is on this channel, a first time reaction to how crazy the honey badger is and how actually like there are like similarities to a Wolverine, right? So like I'm like, holy because the honey badger's insane. Now, is the Wolverine more gangster than a honey badger? I guess that's debatable, but that's the full circle moment. The other thing is I like the Joe Rogan podcast, and one of the craziest stories, I forget the details. I wonder if he's covered it on his channel, but I don't know if it was World War II, but there was a moment where the Soviets were battling the Germans in this field. I believe it was the Germans. I get confused. It's like, you know, Soviets, Polish, German, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I thought it was the Germans and the Soviets. It might be, I know it was the Soviets for sure. Anyways, they're in this battle, and these wolves, I guess there's all these wolf packs in this area because the wolves have just went crazy in this region. And the wolves were like picking off the soldiers at such a high quantity that they had to stop the war or stop the battle. I guess like create some type of truce. And all the soldiers had to go out and fight wolves before they could continue the battle or some shit like that. And I just remember that blurb from a Joe Rogan podcast. And this is the type of stories he tells, and they're fire. So anyways, full circle moments. I like it. I love it. Let's go. We got Aimo versus Wolverine currently.
He is kicking and punching and stabbing this Wolverine, and he finally gets on top of the Wolverine as he straddles it and plunges his knife into the Wolverine's chest as the life from the Wolverine leaves its body and it falls limp to the ground. At that point, Aimo remembers, wait a minute, my friends took my knife. He looks at his knife. That's not his knife. That's his compass, and now it's broke. Shit. I mean, also kind of cool, though, because he just killed a Wolverine with a compass. He looks down at the dead Wolverine. He's sitting on top of a log. He had hallucinated the entire thing again.
Oh.
Meth. So Aimo gets...
That's insane. Okay. I'm over here like, yo, he really battled a Wolverine. This is crazy, man. I seen what a honey badger can do on the channel, but I guess I got to digress on that one. Meth. Crank.
Gets up off the log that he just killed, looking around, not knowing what to do. In the darkness of night, he sees a fire off in the distance. So he straps on his skis and starts making his way towards that fire. And he's skiing, and he's skiing, and he's skiing all night long, and he's going, and he's going, and this fucking fire is not getting any closer. It's almost like it's running from him, and he keeps going towards it longer and longer, and finally, dawn breaks, and Aimo realizes that he's been chasing the North Star, thinking it was a fire for like the last 8 hours. Because meth. So now it's morning. Aimo still has no idea where
Yo, the way he has the thing coming like a commercial is ignorant.
He's going. So it's like, well, better find some copper. I mean, my friends. He's got to find his friends. So he just starts skiing around looking for any signs of human life at this point. And he's skiing and he's skiing and he's going and he's going. And he finally comes across this abandoned German forward observational base. And he starts making his way towards it. The problem with this was whenever the Germans abandoned something in World War II, they usually booby-trapped it. And that's what happened here because Aimo skis over a landmine, blowing up his foot, throwing him to the ground, and Aimo's like, that's it, I'm dead for sure, there's no way I'm making it out of this, and he just lays there. We have no idea how long he laid there. He said he laid there for a week, but that dude's high as a kite on meth. He could have been there for 45 minutes. We have no idea. But he lays there, and he lays there, literally too high to die, and then he just gets bored, and he's like, fine, I'll live. And he gets up, and he starts walking back towards the base again. He makes it all the way to the building, you know, grabs a doorknob. Well, at least the base is real. The landmine sure as fuck was real. The base better be real. The base is real, grabs a doorknob, opens the door. That's booby trap 2. Blows up in his face, yeets him 30 yards the other direction as he lands flat on his back with the door on top of him. And he's like, okay, now for sure, I'm gonna die. There's no way I'm making it out of this. I'm done. And he just lays there. He completely gives up and he just waits for death to come get him. And he's laying there, and 1 day passes, and 2 days pass, and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7 days pass, and he's still just laying there like, this is taking forever. And then finally, some Finnish soldiers come up and are like, hey, do you want some help? And he's like, holy shit, yeah, that'd be great. So the Finnish guys start making their way over to him, and then one of them steps on a fucking landmine. And then the other 2 Finnish soldiers are like, well, we can only save one of you, and we're gonna save the guy that we came with. If we get this guy saved, we'll let him know to come back and save you later. Peace, goodbye. And just left him laying there again. So he thinks to himself, maybe if I can survive a couple more days, I might actually make it out of this. So he starts trying. He gets a little fire going next to him. He starts melting snow in his canteen cup to drink water to hydrate. A Siberian jay at some point lands next to him, and he takes a ski pole and smacks it to death, pulls the Siberian jay over to him, grabs it, and just Ozzy Osbournes this bird raw, just eats the whole thing, trying to get any amount of calories inside of him. And then after 3 more days, they come back and they save Aimo, and he completely blacks out. Aimo comes to, he's in a Finnish hospital where he's informed that he has been missing for 14 days and they found him 250 miles from where he originally departed his friends. He now weighs a mere 95 pounds and has a resting heart rate currently of 200 beats per minute, 14 days after taking all of the meth. So Aimo proceeds to do the logical thing, makes a full recovery and lives a long happy life until passing away at 71 in 1989 because he's Finnish and that's just how they get down. Yeah, if you're not picking up what I'm trying to tell you, this man actually may have seen Star Wars the original series in theater, okay? Could you imagine him taking his kids to the movie theater just being like, we didn't call it the Force back in my day. We called it Pervidin. Seriously, it's pretty funny that the only two Finnish soldiers that I know off the top of my head are Aimo and Simo Hoya. Simo, deadliest sniper of all time, over 500 kills. Aimo, the most unkillable tweaker ever. Don't worry, this story keeps going. Meth. Aimo's son was interviewed about his dad, to which he said that his dad never really talked much about his time in service, but there was one point later in Aimo's life when he decided to write in to a local newspaper that was having a competition for who had the best, craziest military story ever. And he wrote his story down, mailed it in, and he was informed, congratulations, you've got second. How the fuck did this guy get second place with this story? Did Simo Hoya enter the same competition? Because that's the only logical explanation, other than that there was some Karen on the judge board that was like, I don't know, this story seems a little too unbelievable if you ask me. Bah. To which my argument is, look at him. Do you think that guy's lying about this story? Do you really? Because homeboy looks like he's about to hit a T intersection and go straight, okay? That's not hair product. He just moves that fucking fast now. There's no way he's lying about this story, and I'm legitimately mad he didn't win this fucking competition for some reason. Okay, this story is getting out of hand. We need to end this video. I guess, in conclusion, it's important to bear in mind with how incredible this story is that Aimo is the exception and not the example. You should not do drugs because they are in fact bad for you, okay? Don't do drugs. Also, don't fight the Finnish in winter in Finland where they have home field advantage. It's just a bad time. Anyways, thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. So Aimo decides to take the high road, and if you don't know, it's so fucking stupid. A fucking Siberian jay lands remotely close to him. He takes a ski pole, fucking whatcha! Grabs this. Oh, I hate everything. What a terrible blooper.
That's tight. Oh, this is that Jake McNasty. Okay. Let me get focused. So there's something that's been on my mind since he said it, but I wanted to just let him rock and finish the story. Aimo traveled 250 miles in 2 weeks. 250, because he said 250 miles. He didn't say kilometers. He said miles. 250 miles in 2 weeks. That's 14 days. Let's look. How many miles is that a day? Which he probably didn't. That's actually like kind of wild. I don't know why that stood out to me, but okay, 250 divided by 14. Hold on. All right. So that's not crazy. That's not. So it's saying, I think it's saying like almost 18 miles a day. Actually, am I tripping? Hold on. Did I do that wrong? No, that is right. It's like 17 point some blah, 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 blah. I just always round up when it's like point whatever. So it's almost 18 miles a day in winter on skis or however they're doing it. That's pretty fucking intense. However, I'm trying to think of like these marathons people run. I think they do like 14 miles a day or something, but I could be wrong. 18 miles is actually kind of crazy. So 1 mile at a very high level could be ran, like this is at a high level, in 4 minutes. But the typical mile by the average person, I think, is done in like 8 minutes. But keeping that even an 8-minute pace for 18 miles is insane. Anyways, I don't know why that stood out to me. I was just like 250 miles in 14 days. That's a lot of movement. Anyways, This was a dope story. I enjoy these stories. I sit and listen to these. I feel like, you know, pops or grandpas telling like a dope war story at a campfire. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what it feels like. I enjoy these. Hopefully you guys enjoy going over them with me. Hopefully I bring a little value, you know. But anyways, that was dope. Fat Electrician. Go like, share, comment, subscribe on his content, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
City boy! City boy!